Spicy, mild, or somewhere in the middle. Answering all your questions, so turn it up a little. Is a meat dude. Yeah, it's a meat dude. Yeah.
What even number is it?
18?
Is it 18?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
You're supposed to keep track of that.
Yeah, I think I should probably start keeping track of it. Episode 18. We are going to show off these sweet threads right here. We got little
cups.
Little swag cups. Starting to get pretty official here.
My friend, the meat dude swag.
I always feel like in Hollywood they have low budget films. Well, we have a zero budget podcast out of the basement, and we're just getting after it out here. How you doing, man?
Good. What is today? Today is a Tuesday of the week, which usually we do this Sunday night or Monday night. Mm-hmm. Tuesdays are my slaughter days, so yeah. I've had a long physical day. Got here just in time to have a fun conversation about meat.
Yeah, absolutely. Today we wanted to go over some of the hot issues, the hot button stuff people are talking about online and different things. And
there's a lot to discuss, and I think coming from a butcher's viewpoint, we could kind of just talk about my friend the meat dude's opinion on it, of how it would affect the meat industry, whether it be small scale, large scale, what have you. It's interesting, but first and foremost, let's make sure we're calling it what it is, and that's mandatory country of origin labeling. Well, fun fact, there is a lot of items in the U.S. that are covered under that guideline,
like
the MCOOL. Everything other than beef and pork.
Okay.
Seafood, lamb. You probably don't buy much lamb commercially at like a retail store, but there will always be, most of the time it's from Australia or New Zealand is where most of the lamb in the United States comes from, because we don't have a lot of lamb slaughter facilities. But if it's lamb is one of those that falls under the category that stayed under MCOOL. But when MCOOL got taken away, they only removed beef and pork because of the financial issues that it caused between us and our exporters and importers.
You're saying meat processors, you're saying?
Beef and pork. No, cattle as a whole. The animals that create the beef and pork and the cattle and pigs that are shipped across state country lines, still to this day all the time, whether it's heading to Canada from Montana, North Dakota to go into a feedlot, or bringing cows down. The Mexico side of things lately has been shut down for a while, but previously MCOOL beef and pork was covered and under that. And I think my biggest thing with MCOOL is the M is mandatory.
Yeah.
Anytime the government makes something mandatory, it's very, very expensive, and it's a nightmare to implement. And if you look back at the history of the last time we had MCOOL and what it did to the beef industry and the pork industry, and how financially, how much that costs the USDA to implement that through auditing and paperwork and tracking in order to implement this MCOOL, it was catastrophic. Which MCOOL, the reason that it's up is because they're trying to put it into the new farm bill, right? Mm-hmm. I said right away when we started the show that I wanted to stay out of politics, because one, I don't read enough into them to feel like I'm informed enough to have an opinion on it. But MCOOL directly affects me as a meat processor, and as my family's cattle ranch too, right?
Yeah.
So January 1, the USDA came down with stricter guidelines for what the term product of USA actually means, because in the last 10 years, that term has been pretty loosely used in the meat industry. Anytime a product was manufactured or changed in America, they could stick the product of the USA.
No matter what the process was, right?
No matter where it was raised. So let's say, I'll use an example. I buy a box of ribeye rolls, so the primal that gets cut into ribeye steaks.
Mm-hmm.
It's a product of Canada. I brought it in, cut it into steaks. Because I manufactured it in the USA, I could put a sticker on there that says product of USA, right?
Mm-hmm.
So January 1, USDA, because there's no... The financial burden of the mandatory versus just changing the labeling policy is two totally different worlds.
Okay.
So they changed the label policy book guidelines so that you can no longer do that if you're going to put product of USA on the label. Voluntarily, you as a meat producer has the option to put product of USA on it, but it is fully your responsibility to track, document, validate that is a true statement.
Yeah.
Okay. Bringing in MCOOL, this is going to be a government-ran mandatory policy that is no longer up to the individual. It's up to the government to ensure that all of this is going to work.
Yeah.
And anytime the government is involved with making these things traceable, it costs a lot of money.
If
right?
the government ever shows up and says, "I'm here to help," you should run.
Well, it's yeah. And,
That's my philosophy.
and then that's, as a meat processor, that's kind of. And mind you, the last time MCOOL was in place, I wasn't in the meat processing world. I was in high school, right? Had no idea what MCOOL was. We talked about it a lot in college because it was still kind of hot off the cancellation. So it was it was always a great discussion point of what MCOOL did to the cattle industry, really, and the hog industry. It affected both of them drastically. And the major play in all of it is that it upset our importer exports, our direct ones, Mexico and Canada, to the point where they sued the United States, and it was a 6-year-long battle of, you're screwing us over, so we're going to screw you over. It sounds a lot like what's going in our government right now, right?
Pretty much bureaucracy in a nutshell.
Yeah. So that's where, that's kind of my opinion on MCOOL is anytime the government creates a bill that makes something mandatory, red flag.
So give me, without a doubt, give me the breakdown. So for me, I think label of origin, I walk into a store, this beef is going to say product of America, USA, right?
Yeah.
So is there any way for that to happen where that was raised somewhere else, shipped over here, slaughtered here, now it's a product of the USA? Is that, how does that guideline work?
Yeah, not anymore as of literally this year, January 1.
Okay, so it really has to be specific.
Yeah, so what you're going to start seeing is
Mm-hmm.
that label drastically less used because it's voluntary now, which is probably going to upset a lot of cattle producers who want that marketability of their product.
Absolutely.
Right?
Some people want American beef. That's what they're going to get.
And that's where a lot of ranchers are in full support of MCOOL because they want every single package that hits a grocery shelf, that every single consumer knows exactly where that thing was born and raised.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's say you have an animal that was born in North Dakota, shipped to Canada to a feedlot, slaughtered in Canada, shipped back down here to a fab plant, and put into the food chain. What they're doing up there isn't different than what we're doing in North Dakota, right? It's just like north or south. Now, most of our cattle go south because of the weather, and they do better in feedlots. But like I know ranchers that will grass cattle out during the summer and ship them to Canada. Because there's a lot of feedlots up in Canada too, and we produce very, very similar genetics in cattle between the two countries, and that's why that relationship is really important. Nicole kind of touched base on it a couple episodes ago of, we do not have the capacity, especially if you look on a state-by-state basis, we don't have the capacity to kill the amount of animals that we're harvesting.
She said only 7% are actually consumed by the state.
Specifically in North Dakota.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, so in our reality, your best bet, if you absolutely want to know exactly where that animal was born and raised, you got to come to a guy like me. New Salem, North Dakota, right?
Like, I bought it off the truck yesterday.
But I am also in a niche. We small butchers are not, we cannot supply the demand of beef. And so, but if I'm a federally inspected meat processing facility, or I manage one, I'm part of one, MCOOL comes down the train, and my customers who sell retail, now, majority of them are, full calves were born on their place. They are running them on grass, bringing them to the feedlot, finishing it. Majority of the cattle
on
right there
American
on one
soil.
place,
Yeah.
right? But my point being is a lot of them are buying calves from other states, Nebraska, whatever. So they're not born on their ranch. So the paperwork and the traceability, somebody from North Dakota that has to go buy feeders from Nebraska through a sale barn or through a private buyer, what have you, the traceability and the documentation that will need to be implemented to implement MCOOL is going to be drastically different. Now, in today's world, previous to the last MCOOL, we now have EIDs in cattle. So traceability is a lot easier with technology. Technology has drastically helped that traceability. But it's still one more hurdle to cross, even though you're still within the USA. You still got to prove it because it is MCOOL.
It should be like the natural born citizen, right? Natural born cow, even if it gets sent away, wouldn't that still be an American cow?
I would have to look deeper into MCOOL to know the that side of things, but
right, because it'd be interesting to just know as a consumer side of
that
seems American to me.
That's the point that would scare me.
Because they get they get to choose that.
As a meat processor, I struggled. So we have to, we age every animal that comes through. If it's over 30 months of age, we got to treat it different than under 30 months of age, which we can have the BSE conversation later because it has to do with Canada and us, and that's for another show. But I can barely get guys to, like, let's say their teeth, so we age them by a dentition. So how many adult teeth they have is correlated with how old the animal is, and it's enough correlation that we can use that as verification for how old the animal is. And but sometimes it's really close, like that animal is 2.5 years old, their teeth show they're over, but the producer's like, I know that thing was born on
they're making more
this
money
day.
This way or what?
And I said, then prove it.
Yeah.
All you got to do is prove it. Send me the birth records, documentation of that calf's birth date, and I can keep that in my records on file when a USDA comes snooping through my documents, when they say, this one dentitioned over 30, why did you mark it in under 30? And I have, here you go.
Yeah.
And I struggle with producers to give me that information. So then I get to thinking, like, well, what are you going to do when you're trying to ship calves?
Probably more on the science, though, than what their documentation. That's why they're not giving it to you, right? Or am I stepping down a rabbit hole there?
I'm not sure where you're
going
with that.
I'm saying if they haven't given you the documentation, they probably were just...
They don't have it.
Oh, okay.
Because
so
not every rancher,
right?
Not every rancher can easily go find a calf that was born, the exact date of a calf that was born on their place 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, without some serious record
digging.
Yeah.
Right.
No, that makes sense. Yeah.
So, like, that's my point.
Most ranchers aren't automated, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I don't know. That's probably a good guess, but yeah. I'm not sure. I think a lot of guys are starting to use technology to help with these types of instances.
Right.
But, like, that's where my head goes, because being in a USDA facility my whole life, the amount of paperwork and documentation and traceability
nonstop.
And validation and verification that I have to do just to kill 13 head a week.
That's crazy.
Now we're talking every single animal in the United States has to be traced back to its origin. And then that goes down the line of how much is that going to cost?
Yeah.
How much is that going to cost the USDA, which is our tax money?
Yeah.
So, and that's why it's
only going to come right back onto us.
And that's why it's part of the farm bill and not just an easily passed policy, is because it is a financial pull of taxpayer money.
Yeah.
To market again, just two species, beef and pork, who aren't already under that umbrella. They're just trying to bring them back. So
Yeah.
now, like I've already mentioned, I completely understand the want of the cow-calf guys feeling neglected, that they don't have a say how their end product that had to pass through to other businesses to get to an end product feel like they're not getting well representation at the grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
I get that. But the logistics of it all and the government of it all
Right.
scares the crap out of me.
Yeah. It's I mean, personally, you listen to all the different actual breakdown of what you're talking about. It's not just like a labeling thing, and you're like,
No,
should it be labeled? Yeah, absolutely, it should be labeled. I want it labeled. But then to hear actually what that entails, I mean, even the breakdown of the rules of if this cow leaves the country and comes back and all that kind of stuff, to me, there's going to be so many people that cheat that system, right? Do you make more money? Do you make more money if you are probably U.S.? I mean,
that's the thought, right?
I mean,
they're going
obviously
to get a higher margin,
or something.
a higher premium on that product because it's completely U.S.
Yeah, so now there's already some sort of whatever. So, I mean, you might as well just go back to you can put a sticker on it or whatever. It's probably the same.
So that premium that you just brought up has been the issue in the last 10 years that have gotten a lot of cattle producers outraged, is because they have been able to I don't want to say take advantage of it, but they have been able to easily verify a product of the USA under the policy labeling guidelines,
right? But
because
then
they manufactured it in America.
Yeah.
It was produced partially in the United States, so they could put that label.
They met the criteria to put that.
But now they changed it,
yeah.
and because even with that small change, I bet you will start, especially the large commercial guys, will drastically stop using that claim, because that's one extra hurdle, that's one extra expense that they have to do to prove. Even though their cattle are still a product of the USA, but now that they have to verify it with more steps than what they used to, I bet they stop marketing it that way.
Right, so they won't label it at all.
No, they'll send it on as beef.
By actually wanting to get it, we're gonna get nothing.
Well, unless you make it mandatory. And the government tells you what you have to do.
Oh, that's awesome. That is super. So when does this go down? Like when?
Well, it's in the Farm Bill right now.
Yeah, so it's just whenever
I don't know where it's at. If it's in the House or the Senate, or somebody approved it.
I don't follow it up along. Like you said, we aren't.
Don't talk politics.
We're not here to talk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
it ends up running down the line of the laws, and it affects you guys greatly. So
it's really interesting to look up. And again, statistics and financial evaluation can be skewed no matter what resource you find it on, but it's really interesting to see the financial burden that it put on the meat industry back in the last time MCOOL was in effect. Once MCOOL stopped for beef and pork, what that did to the financial stability of the industry. And now what they're projecting the costs of re-implementing MCOOL to be is in the billions.
Well, because it's going to be led by a certain, you have to do it this way from this company.
How do you pay for that? Well, the worry from the one side is that you're going to pay through it with meat prices going even higher than they already are.
Yeah.
So there's just it's a very interesting conversation, and I like talking about it, but it's a very heated topic right now.
Well, who's going to make the money? I mean, so the billions of dollars. So who's to benefit from MCOOL going through in terms financially? Because it's not the consumer and it's not the meat producer.
No, it would be the cattle producer. Trickle down premiums.
Trickle down, that works really well. Yeah. Okay, so it sounds like kind of horrible.
They would be able to. So the idea is a U.S. consumer goes into the grocery store, they can easily identify that this is a steak that came born, raised,
Yeah,
harvested.
because it's past all the stuff. Yep.
This steak has nothing on it. The idea is that they're going to buy that one 9 times out of 10, right?
Unless
so
you
it's
were
going
informed.
and then it's going to devalue anything that came in
Yeah.
imported, and it's going to increase value of anything that has that our country's label on it.
Yeah.
And that is why the last time MCOOL was in place, Canada sued the United States because they were, what was the word I read? I can't remember now, but it was like a 6-year court.
Like a battle about,
of them, then Canada said they were going to start giving us tariffs. And I guess,
it got a lot of
politics, man.
Yeah.
Bureaucracy.
And all for a sticker on a slab
so,
of meat, right?
So,
Think
so
about
from
that.
From a
That's how big meat is.
Yeah, from a small scale meat guy, I don't have to spend the money to prove that what I'm doing is a product of the USA, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I know the producers. I have all of their cell numbers right now. I can go take a picture of the calf that I'll be killing in 2 years in all reality, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when MCOOL comes down,
you should get like yearly
when
pictures.
MCOOL, and I don't know this information, but it does make me nervous. If MCOOL passes, what is that going to do to us small federally inspected meat processing facilities where our size is so small, but it's going to put a lot of extra steps on us just to kill 13 head to label it out, right?
Yeah.
So I slaughter and produce everything under inspection, even if it's just going into your freezer.
Mm-hmm.
It's inspected. I inspect everything because we make a lot of sausage, so we got to produce all this beef, and then we make sausage at the end of the day. And instead of cleaning between custom processing and making federal sausage, I just do everything under federal. Well, if I now have to do a mandatory country of origin label on every single package that comes through that facility, it'd be crazy. There's probably something in there.
Employee.
There's probably something in there that your size of how many head you kill and how much revenue your business produces, you might be able to bypass these types of scenarios, which is a possibility. Again, I haven't.
But then, really, why even have it if you allow some? Right? I mean,
well, there's a lot of things like that. And
is there?
Yeah.
Okay. Once you don't
because
reach
we're
a certain
small,
scale,
we don't have to test as much compared to the larger scale facilities. So
okay.
there's a lot of
there's
a lot of examples that could be done that way.
Okay. That makes sense, I guess. Okay.
But that's again my point of MCOOL is if you're going to do it, one size fits all doesn't really work, and that's typical of the USDA is that they make everything one size fits all, and it screws the little guy over. And this is a little bit of me just rambling and going down a rabbit hole here. Okay, just a heads up, but it's interesting scenario.
Yeah. Yeah, it like I said, it greatly affects you on a daily basis or each individual product basis.
Yeah. So if I wanted,
that changes a lot of things.
If I wanted to, if my customers who sell retail out of the animals that I slaughter wanted to market their animals, which they already are through social media, through free marketing revenues, because it's something that I always preach to my customers when they start wanting to make claims on their labels. Is, do you want to verify it, prove it, and keep all the records needed on file for 5 years for somebody to validate this? Most of the time, they say no.
Yeah.
Because the easier route for these small scale niche farmers market type companies is you just tell the world what you're doing on social media.
Right.
And instead of putting it on that label of meat, you can just tell the customer face to face. And then that also stems into, well, the average cow-calf producer doesn't get that opportunity to tell that story to the end consumer. So they're wanting some more mandatory representation.
No, that makes sense. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, that's what they stand on, which they know it's legit, but it should just be easier.
Now I think there's a lot of misconceptions.
Is there some sort of like QR code where you can just like scan it instead of, but you still got to put that in your packaging. You still got.
That sounds super cheap and easy to implement. Get right on that.
I'm just trying to, be a dumb guy and come up with some great ideas. Here, let me just solve all this in
just right now on this episode,
podcast.
we're gonna solve
right
this.
On. Here, fill me back up. I'll tell you guys what to do.
Yeah, that's funny. So we'll see. We'll see what comes to be with the. But MCOOL. This isn't the first time it's come up in the Farm Bill. Even it gets brought up a lot.
Yeah. So whoever's going to profit keeps loving to push it, right? I mean, at that point. So that's. I mean, you always got to follow the money. That's not even political. That's just real. Whatever side you're on.
No, and it's. Yeah, what dollar goes into what pocket? The amount of money is there, right? But they're they're trying to swing it from this pocket to this pocket,
and to stand on the American, we're American, which I have no problem with standing up for our country, but also that's going to be at our own cost to just put a label to say we're cool. I mean, my kids wear stickers and say they're dragons, and
say we're cool.
Yeah, right. It's like MCOOL, right? Maybe that was the whole deal, right? MCOOL. Maybe that's how they came up with it. Maybe they were thinking.
Yeah, no, it's the meat country of originally.
Yeah, right.
I mean, look it up. I think all consumers should just read into it, because all meat consumers should be interested in this scenario, because it could drastically change the beef and pork world again, like it already has. And if one thing in America that we're not the greatest at is learning from our history and making sure we don't do the same mistakes again.
Yeah.
Not to say that it wasn't a mistake. I'm sure some good things came out of it, but I think there's other routes to implement this same marketability, because at the end of the day, that's what the grasp is for, is the marketability.
Yeah. People.
I think there's other ways. Give the
people what they want.
There's other ways to accomplish that.
Yeah.
And small scale guys have been doing it forever. Right? Mm-hmm. Large scale guys don't. The large scale guys are also importing and exporting, drastically exporting. So,
yeah, no, that's
there's my friend the Meat Dude's take on MCOOL.
There you go. That's
pretty
awesome.
good. I'm pretty good at towing the line.
I think.
What does he really think?
There's not one thing that's you're 100% this way. Yeah. I mean, you like you said, you grew up, on a farm, man, your family ranch, and obviously that's something that you would want to be able to put that product, like you are from America, that cow came from here, that means something. But yeah, it's really interesting. We want to kind of, like we said, we wanted to go over different hot takes. We want to do different things, try to stay connected in what's going on in the meat world.
Yeah, for sure.
And that is definitely a hot topic, right? We'll see what we got going here, but that's episode 18. We're going to keep it real simple on that deal. I'm Patrick, and that's Spencer. We're out.
That sure smells good. Firing it up in the backyard, cracking one. It's time to chill. From the ranch to the steak, take it from the farm and put it on your plate. It's the Meat Dude, yeah. It's the Meat Dude, yeah. All the degrees from universities, bringing science in on how hot it's supposed to be. It's the Meat Dude, yeah. It's the Meat Dude, yeah. Spicy, mild, or somewhere in the middle. Answering all your questions, so turn it up a little. It's a Meat Dude, yeah. It's a Meat Dude, yeah.